Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvise Sunyavadi Paskachade Satarine. Jai Śrī Caitanya-caritāmṛta Nityaṁ Shri Advaita Gadadhara Śrīvāsari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is there time we should chant Jai Radha Madhava or no?
We have the whole hour, so however you want to do Prabhuji, either way is fine.
Proper sequence. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vangachari Yamuna Tira Vangachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Welcome everyone. Today we'll be discussing the points on Vaishnava etiquette and glorifying a great soul. Om Gana Timarandasya Gananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Śrī Caitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopija Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Dapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Prithaganeshwe Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakopatrubhischa Kipasindhuke Vicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnaveyo Namo Namah. Jai Śrī Caitanya-Prabhu Nityaṁ Shri Advaita Gadadhara Śrīvāsari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So again, welcome everyone. All glories to His divine grace. The Prabhupada, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Back to where I want to be here. So today is the appearance day of Srila Gaura Das Babaji. And of course, it's also Ekadasi. So on this special day, I thought it would be good that we take a few minutes to remember Gaura Das Babaji. Gaura Das Babaji was born in a Vaishya family on the banks of the Padma River in Bagayan, a village in Faridapur district, what is now Bangladesh. He was given the name of Vamsidas and he was born sometime in the middle of the 19th century, or 1850, something like that. He is important to us now because he is the Diksha Guru of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. He was himself married at an early age, according to the custom of the time, but he always maintained a detachment from householder life. His main interest was always in worshiping Lord Krishna. So in 1849, Gaura Das Babaji left Grihastha life after the death of his wife. He moved to Vrindavan and took initiation from Sri Bhagavad-Das Babaji, a disciple of Jagannath Das Babaji. And He was there living in Giri Govardhan, Nandagram, Varshana, Radhakund, these places in Vrindavan. So he chanted in seclusion 200,000 names of Krishna every day, 128 rounds of japa. He felt great pain and separation from Radha Govinda and cried profusely as he wandered through the 12 forests of Vrindavan. He would loudly chant the holy names in a deep voice full of lamentation. So Srila Gaura Das Babaji left this world in 1915, but before that, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur told his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, Prabhupada, who was then known as Bhimala Prasad, to take Diksha from Srila Gaura Das Babaji. He said he could not give him personal Diksha because father cannot, according to the custom, give Diksha to his son. So when he approached Babaji and asked for initiation, Babaji was so humble, and he had never taken any disciple in his life and was determined not to take any disciples. He simply addressed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, saying, "It was impossible. You are so highly qualified. How can I be your guru? You should go find someone else." Srila Bhaktivinoda then told Srila Bhaktisiddhanta that he insisted he must take initiation from Gaura Das Babaji. So he repeatedly asked him again and again, and Babaji simply said no. One time he said, "All right, I will tell you after I discuss with Gauranga Mahaprabhu." And so the next time Srila Bhaktisiddhanta saw him, he said, "My dear master, what did Mahaprabhu say?" He said, "Oh yes, I met him, but we did not discuss about you." So this happened repeatedly until Srila Bhaktisiddhanta approached him with tears in his eyes and said that his human form of life is only meant for self-realization, and without a bona fide spiritual master, it is impossible for anyone to attain love of Krishna. He said, and he's saying he's a very highly elevated devotee. "If you do not accept me as a disciple, then I have no reason to live. I am determined to commit suicide." So at that point, Babaji Maharaj could see that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was very sincere and speaking from the core of his heart. So at that point, he accepted him as disciple and never accepted another disciple for the rest of his life. And although Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a grihastha with 10 children, Srila Gaura Das Babaji would often go to Srila Bhaktivinoda's home in Drumadweep at Swadananda Shukadat Kunj, where he would listen to him give his readings of the Bhagavata and discuss Vaishnava theology with him. Gaura Das Babaji was very fond of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Srila Bhaktivinoda was extremely impressed by Gaura extraordinary renunciation, his pure devotion, and his attachment to the Lord. So this is his nature. He is greatly renounced and detached from this world. Let's see what else. There was one time. Although Babaji Maharaj could not walk properly during his last years, still he would dance very enthusiastically during the performance of Sankirtan. His body would expand while dancing, and he paid daily 1,000 obeisances to Giridhari deity until the last day of his life. He did not like the idea of leaving prasad on his plate, and if he thought anyone was going to eat his remnants, he would consume every last morsel, and even the leaf plate, to prevent it. There was another time he was there in Mayapur area, and he was living there for some time, and then he moved into made his residence one of the stalls in the public latrine. And they asked him, Maharaj, please come, let us give you proper residence. Let us take you out. And he insisted, no. If I stay here, then all the worldly minded people will leave me alone. They will not come and bother me with all their requests for blessings and all those things. So he's an extreme example of detachment in this world. And there's much more to be heard about him, but this is some of the main points I wish to make today. Now, today we're going to look at Prabhupada's discussion and presentation of proper behavior as a Vaishnava, and in particular the position and service to a Vaishnava. This practice is not for developing something artificial, but is meant to be a mood within the heart, that I am simply the servant of all devotees, and they're all very advanced, especially those who are quite advanced. So I didn't have time to complete this presentation because I was different reasons. Last minute it's coming. So one of the topics is what happens when we see a sannyasi? What do we do? What is our attitude, our interaction? So the first point is that every day, the first time you see a sannyasi, you must pay obeisances. And I also heard it said that if one fails to pay obeisances upon seeing him, he should fast for the rest of the day. And of course, we should respect them, respect their words, whatever service they require. We render it to the best of our ability without hesitation. And the main service is hearing these great devotees, these sannyasis who have renounced the material world just to serve Krishna and to preach, especially in the West, in ISKCON. Sannyas will not be given to anyone if he's not an experienced preacher. He's not, in other times and other sampradayas, they give sannyas for renunciation. But in ISKCON, it's not only renunciation, but more emphasis on teaching and preaching. So this is their main activity, and we should be eager to hear from them. Does anybody have any questions about this? Comments? I know particularly we have one sannyasi coming next week. His Holiness Mahavishnu Swami, my god brother, who has dedicated his life to spreading Harinam, Sankirtan all over the world. So he's traveling different cities, different countries continuously and performing kirtan, Sankirtan in public places, wherever he goes, in different cities around the world. So we're very fortunate that he's coming to Tampa this week. And Although he'll spend a few days in Clearwater Beach and Clearwater area, then he will come on Friday to Tampa. And with the permission of our host, you'll attend the Nyan Viram ceremony. Excuse me, the Nyan's ceremony on Friday afternoon. So any questions, comments? After that, he will do public kirtan on Saturday. Some recommendations are there where they may go. And then Sunday, they've agreed that if we wish to hold a picnic in some, popular public park, like a couple weeks ago we had in for the Bangladesh devotees, there was some park there, and then we did kirtan in a public place. So he said he would love to join us in that occasion. And I think on Saturday, he would also give a class to our devotees. So the details have not been finalized yet. They will be after the end of this class. Any comment, question?
Hare Kṛṣṇa, Prabhuji. No, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just sharing that maybe Maharaj's itinerary and other details we can discuss at 10. Hopefully more Tampa devotees will be joined, and that will be specific for them only. This time we can use for the philosophical discussion about the specifics we can talk at 10.
Sure. We always like to take them time to glorify devotees. So I was just sneaking that in. So there's another class of God brothers of your guru. So everyone in ISKCON is ultimately encouraged to take initiation, Diksha initiation. When that is done, or when one is seeing that as a goal of life, there are so many God brothers of the Guru. And of course, they must be treated with all respect. We must offer them obeisances. We must respect them the same as we respect our own Guru. And we must render service as they require. Now, this not only applies to the men, but also to the women, who are God sisters of the Guru. So I'm not giving a whole lot of details, but any questions or comments on this?
So, Prabhuji, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Pranam. Recently, I was listening to a lecture of Nityaṁ Mataji, where he mentioned that Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, still he takes the Mahaprasad of his God brothers. So, Mahaprasad from their plates, when they leave their plates, so Jayapataka Swami Maharaj takes the Mahaprasad from their plates. I was so amazed to hear that. Actually, that also improved my bhakti to him and other Prabhupada disciples and other devotees also. So really, really astonished to hear that.
Yes, Srila Prabhupada, even though his God brothers did not come forward and help him in the days when he was asking to establish his mission in the Western world, still, whenever he would meet them, he would offer them all respects. He would give them a seat next to him on the Vyasasan. He would see to whatever needs they had. So in this way, he was demonstrating to us how to respect, the God brothers, and he's giving respect, so how much more we should give respect. This is the sign of a devotee, that he respects all devotees, especially those who are senior to or equal to himself, on the same initiation and everything, all those statuses are similar. Still, he offers all respects, and he takes instruction, guidance from seniors, always. He seeks out their association and takes guidance from them. And he will associate with those who are his peers, similar levels, and he will befriend them and engage with them in a very respectful, friendly way. And those who are less advanced, who are much younger, then those persons he helps. He reaches out to instruct them and guide them as they request. So these are the different levels. And it's not that one becomes guru that all this disappears. That would be a misunderstanding. So yeah, I know personally, I remember my own experience 20 years ago or more, maybe 25 years. I was traveling from Calcutta to Mumbai, and the plane I was taking got delayed because of some required repairs. So it so happened that His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj was taking the same flight. And when he saw me there waiting, he came over and talked to me and asked if anything I needed. And then when we arrived finally in Mumbai, he had his personal car come and take me to the to Radha Rasa Bihari's temple there in Juhu. And then he saw that I would have all proper facility, whatever I need. And there was even one visiting personality, famous at the time, I don't know, he's probably way out of your times. He was a professional bhajan singer and what else I don't know. So he was visiting Maharaj and he called me down into his room to attend into that meeting and discussion. And I thought, wow, this is so unusual. I don't know this man, he doesn't know me, and yet I'm being treated as a very honorable, respectful guest. And so this was demonstrated already, and these are signs of a person who is a Vaishnava. All these activities of Vaishnava behavior, they are the ornaments of a devotee. They make his character, his quality more attractive, more beautiful. It's not that these things are optional. We should see them as things that are necessary for us to properly please Krishna, please Guru. And the more one exhibits proper Vaishnava behavior, the more he is a very wonderful, attractive devotee. So, of course, that goes far beyond just acting and behaving towards other devotees. There are so many other aspects of Vaishnava behavior. So, and the Guru is always teaching by example. It was amazing. Prabhupada was in, what's it called? The Triveni, the annual, not annual, but periodic festival where they have the
Kumbh Mela?
Kumbh Mela, yeah. And Prabhupada went there, and he would even respect those who are from other sampradayas, other types of devotees. But Prabhupada, in his own example, was, even though his health was not so good, he was rising early and taking a shower from a bucket full of water, just to encourage his disciples to rise early and attend the Mangal Arati. So Prabhupada was always showing us this is how to act, and this is how advanced devotees do act. And then the next category is towards devotees in general. we should have an attitude offering them obeisances, because they are all, whether they're not so advanced, neophyte or advanced, they're all very dear to Lord Krishna. Twadhiyanam, those things connected with Krishna are as worshipful as Krishna himself. And we should respect them, never speak disrespectfully about them or to them, and give them service as required. And there are other categories, of course, we can discuss, but we have the example in the Bhāgavatam, the story of Chitra Ketu. Does anyone remember that? I think you may have studied it. Chitra Ketu was a very advanced devotee, but he was remaining like a king. And actually, I think he had direct darshan of the Lord. And then he was just traveling over the universe, and he happened to come to Kailash and saw Lord Shiva sitting under a tree, speaking before some other great devotees. He was speaking to them. And while he was speaking, his wife Parvati was sitting on his lap. So one would not expect the teacher to have his wife sitting on his lap. So when Chitra Ketu Maharaj saw that, he started to laugh. And then, as we can expect, Parvati became very upset. She thought he was disrespecting, but he wasn't. Still, she took it that way. And so she cursed him to fall down from his position and take birth as a demon. And Maharaj Chitra Ketu did not object. He simply folded his hands and accepted that curse, because he was already remembering Krishna, whatever he did, so he was not afraid of any material condition. But the real exemplary point of the whole story is that after this, Lord Shiva chastised Parvati. He said, if you continue to go like this and curse devotees, I want nothing to do with you anymore. If you go out and you disrespect devotees, then Lord Shiva says, I don't want anything to do. And she was his wife. So this is not the proper behavior. So in this way, the example is there. How to always respect devotees. And, even in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse. Does anyone know this? Apichet Sudaracharo? That even if a devotee appears to be fallen, still he should be treated as saintly. And the Acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they discuss this verse. And they look at a different point of view. Even a devotee, he may have given up his wife and taken on another. He may be doing some sinful activity, whatever it is. He said, still, he must be respected. And devotee, then the end question, he says, may come, but what if he hasn't stopped doing those wrong things? And he answers, still they must be respected. Because in the future, we know devotional service will gradually lead us sooner or later to perfection, whether it's this lifetime or future lifetimes. But Krishna takes it very seriously. And Krishna here is ordering all devotees to have this respect for others, even though they may not be following everything properly. So that's another important aspect. So, are there any questions or comments on this? I mean, this is some very, maybe not so well-known topics here. And we have to understand that if we want to be considered by Krishna to be his follower, to be a Vaishnava, then we must take these guidance and instructions to heart. We must embed them in our heart, and they must be part of our nature and our character. We are very fortunate Srila Prabhupada gives us such detailed instructions. It may not, other Vaishnava line, I don't know if they get all these detailed instructions, but because Prabhupada saw how neophyte we were, how little background we had in devotional service and Vedic life, he told us everything, gave example by his own actions, how to follow everything. Prabhupada said, you have to understand your senior is even, I think he told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he said, this other devotee, Revati Nandana, he was initiated a few days before, so he is your senior god brother. So you must give him that special respect as a senior. And at that time, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was Prabhupada's intimate general. Prabhupada would rely on him for all major important activities, like even securing the land in Mayapur. No one else could actually complete and purchase the land. Srila Prabhupada sent Tamal Krishna Maharaj to Mayapur to purchase the land from the local farmers. And it was difficult. Even Prabhupada showed him how to keep the money securely by wrapping it in a cloth and tying it around his waist, and then keeping it underneath his dhoti so that no one would steal the money he was going to have to pay them. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj was so perfect in his accepting Prabhupada's orders that he was successful where all others had failed. And not only that, as soon as the land purchase was complete, he went straight back to see Prabhupada in Calcutta, ran to Prabhupada's room, knocked on the door. It was late at night. And then he simply said to Srila Prabhupada, the land is yours. Prabhupada was very happy. And he said, thank you very much. Now go take rest. So this is also the attitude of serving Guru, that there are no obstacles. Whatever the Guru requires, whatever he requests, we do it without question, immediately, with full determination. Prabhupada taught us this. Deeply, he taught us this. Prabhupada said that, I think he had a dream, and he said that anyway, I don't want to say it because I can't say it correctly. But Prabhupada said our only qualification for devotional service is that we simply follow him without question, not like, especially as Westerners, had any background in Vaishnava behavior. So, what's next? This is a quote from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, where Lord Chaitanya is speaking to Sanatana Goswami. I think maybe it's, I think this is maybe Rupa Goswami speaking. He said, my dear Sanatan, although you are the deliverer of the entire universe, although even the demigods and great saints are purified by touching you, it is the characteristic of a devotee to observe and protect Vaishnava etiquette. The maintenance of Vaishnava etiquette is the ornament of a devotee. If one transgresses the laws of etiquette, people make fun of him, and thus he is vanquished both in this world and the next. By observing the etiquette, you have satisfied my mind. Who else but you could show this example? I think that was Lord Chaitanya speaking that. So Srila Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction also guides us that one should mentally honor the devotee of Krishna who chants the holy name of the Lord. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation and associate and faithfully serve the pure devotees who are advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of propensity to criticize others. So these are some guiding principles that there are in these areas. And let's see, where am I now? Sorry, here. I'm just trying to get everything in order here. I have too many, I don't know if I ever do this, but I had too many windows open here. So it gets very confusing after a while, trying to find everything. So another point is that whatever that one should overlook.
We don't see anything on screen. It's just a gray screen.
Yeah, I know it's not in a good shape. I didn't want to put it up there.
It's just like a blank screen. If you want to maybe like unshare, that would be better. So at least we can see you on the full screen.
Yeah, you can put us on full screen. So also one should overlook the bodily defects and bad appearance and low birth and low education of a Vaishnava. And it's stated in the Shastra that it is a hellish mentality to consider a Vaishnava to be born of a certain creed or caste, or we consider them to be the same as an ordinary person. The body of a Vaishnava is considered to be a temple of Vishnu. So therefore, while offering obeisances to a Vaishnava, we should remember that we are also offering obeisances to Lord Vishnu in the heart. Therefore, we should also not walk over the body of a Vaishnava. That even applies when we're in a crowded situation. We should make extra efforts not to have to step over the body of a Vaishnava. Now here's another important point that you should make note of. One should not begin any significant venture in one's life without first receiving the blessing of Vaishnavas. And one must always feel himself dependent on the mercy of Vaishnavas. You know, even the gurus in ISKCON, they often exhibit this behavior, asking for the blessings of other devotees. So does anyone here know what the 6 kinds of exchanges are between devotees? Can you name 1 or 2?
Offering prasadam, inviting for prasadam.
Yes, offering prasadam. So people, is there another exchange regarding prasadam? I don't think he's listening. Sudhir Prabhu, do you know? All right, everyone seems to be on permanent mute here.
Prabhuji, can you please repeat the question?
Yes, what is the, the exchanges? One is to give prasad to a devotee. What is another loving exchange with the devotee related to prasadam? Well, an effort to keep it true.
Giving the mercy of Lord Krishna, because prasadam means his remnants.
Yes, but that's that one we just covered. The other aspect is we should receive prasadam. We give it, and then we also, someone offers to us, we accept it. So that's a loving exchange. And Shubhalas, can you say another one? Another exchange.
Giving some gifts, spiritual gifts to devotees.
Yes, giving gifts to devotees and accepting gifts. Not that we only give, but we also must accept someone gives us something, even if it seems a little insignificant. And the fifth one is to reveal one's mind in confidence, and reciprocally to inquire confidentially. Now this can be done mainly with a senior person. We generally don't reveal our minds to those who are neophyte because it may often confuse them. Any question about these? So, in dealing with non-devotees, there's also some rules, some standards. One should not allow non-devotees to touch our feet, even if they insist on doing so, and there is no other way to avoid it. If there is no other way to avoid it, one must simply remember the predecessor, acharyas, and spiritual master, and accept them and return the namaskar with folded hands. So there are two classes of non-devotees. The first, who are innocent, and we should be their well-wisher. And we should try to enlighten them and give them association. But we are not taking their association, taking their guidance, because they are not yet devotees. And they're still finding pleasure in materialistic activities. So their advice will be sometimes incorrect. And finally, there's an atheist we should avoid. It is offense against the holy name to preach to such person, unless they really want to hear from us. Prabhupada also would greet non-devotees, like on his morning walk, Hare Kṛṣṇa, and holding his hands. And if a non-devotee is somebody like a family member, we can still chant Hare Kṛṣṇa and bow to them. Prabhupada, in the early days, told Brahmananda that he has to go and pay obeisances to his mother, even though at the time she wasn't a devotee. It was a little confused, but still they accepted. Prabhupada said this is proper because they are a superior relative, mother. Now, what should we do if we hear somebody criticizing Vaishnavas, Guru, or Shastra? Does anyone know?
So leave that place immediately.
What is it?
Leave that place immediately.
Oh, leave the place immediately. That's one choice. What is another choice?
Or protest. And if you can protest, then leave the place immediately.
Yes,
Or
we try to defeat them in argument and therefore change their mind, or at least show them that they don't have the correct understanding. And if we can't do that, then we must leave the place immediately. So there's another class of activities here about guests. And this is called Atiti Seva, which applies to both a home or in a temple if we have a temple. So Atiti, does anyone know what that word means?
guests.
What does it mean?
Atithi means Vaishnavas. Okay.
Not exactly. That's not exactly.
He who comes without tithi, that means uninvited mostly.
Yes, yes. Unscheduled or unexpected guest. And the understanding is they must be treated as a representative of the Supreme Lord. Since his arriving is unannounced and is just what Lord Krishna might do to test his devotee to see how ready he is to serve him in any situation. So we should serve guests nicely. You know, especially in our preaching work, we always serve the guests. But sometimes people may come to our door and we should treat them very nicely and friendly way. So this is a proper, important step to always greet guests very kindly and in a friendly way. Otherwise, our preaching mission may be inhibited in some way. And we see that when a person is respected, they become more inclined to hear, but if they're disrespected or offended, then they may never come back to the temple again. Or come back to a Vaishnava Sangha, Vaishnava meeting. So we try to make them comfortable and treat them in such a way they will want to come again. Any questions or comments on that? Everyone is so quiet. Sometimes it makes me wonder if they're actually with us or not.
Prabhuji, I have a question, but not regarding to this one.
Oh, okay.
But I can wait until you finish.
Well, we're nearing the end of our time, so you should answer.
Okay, that's why I was waiting. Prabhuji, so we know that Bhaktivinoda Thakur did not give initiation to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur because he is directly son. So generally, the father should not give initiation. That's what you said, right, Prabhuji?
Yes.
And he requested Gaur Kishore Das. So in this parampara, how should we take Prabhuji? Because Gaur Kishore Das Babaji is not a disciple of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, right, Prabhuji? So how should we understand that disciplic succession?
Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was a disciple of Jagannath Das Babaji, who is considered the Shiksha Guru of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Prabhupada listed in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, the whole parampara for us, and has put Srila Jagannath Das, Sri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji And between Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So, and he used to go and hear from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he was definitely taking shiksha from Bhaktivinoda. And that is also Guru, right?
So you said, who used to listen from whom, Prabhuji?
Srila Gorkashore Das Babaji would come to
Bhaktivinoda's
house to hear him speak Bhagavad-Gita.
Okay. So indirectly, he's also a Siksha Guru of Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
Prabhuji, one more question is like, you also mentioned that whenever Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to go and request Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj to give initiation, he said, "I'll check with the Mahaprabhu." Right, Prabhuji? So that means, so he's
not one time, not every
Yeah.
time. One time he said that.
Yeah, one time or twice, yeah, whatever. Like I heard that total of 18 times he rejected, and in the 19th time, I was reading that ISKCON Desire Tree, and it mentioned. So when we hear that he is going to check with Mahaprabhu, so internally, right, Prabhuji, that is not because it's all internal, right, Prabhuji?
No. Sometimes Srila Bhaktisiddhanta will be trying to meet Srila Gorkashore Das Babaji, and he would not see him for days. And then he would finally meet him. And I think maybe he was wearing a garland, a very nice garland, and he said, "Maharaj, where have you been? I haven't seen you for so many days. And where did you get this beautiful garland?" He said, "Oh, I was in Navadvip, spending time in the association of Chaitanya Mahāprabhu." So he is a Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat. Such persons have direct access to Chaitanya Mahāprabhu. We may not, because we are very fallen. Even there is one recorded Leela of Srila Prabhupada, that before Prabhupada moved to Vrindavan, and obviously before he translated the Bhagavatam, and definitely before he came to America, Prabhupada was living and preaching in Jhansi, and he had one disciple, Acharya Prabhakar, his only disciple actually, in Jhansi. He was going to start his mission in Jhansi, but for more or less, it was not successful. And so I think it was on a Janmashtami day that Acharya Prabhakar had to go out for some time and then came back in the evening. And when he came back late in the evening, he saw our Srila Prabhupada just chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa and dancing around the room and, very enthusiastically. And he asked Prabhupada, like, "What happened? Why are you chanting and dancing so much, running around the room?" Prabhupada did not answer. And then his activity continued for a few days, nonstop, 24 hours. And finally, after Prabhupada ceased all these activities, he asked him again. And he noticed that Prabhupada was wearing a garland of kadamba flowers. And these were very big, large kadamba flowers that did not grow in the area. So he was like surprised. And he asked Prabhupada, "What happened? You were chanting and dancing without any interruptions. You didn't take any meals, no sleep." He said, "Oh, I met Lord Krishna and he gave me his garland." So these things do happen to very advanced souls. Hopefully, maybe one day we can all become so advanced.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
People, you've been listening very attentively. Do you have any questions?
No, Prabhuji. Thank you for your wonderful narration of the pastimes.
All right. So our time is almost over, right? Shulas?
Yes, Raj. Yeah, it's almost 10 a.m. So
So can we stop?